Hello, this is Lisa Russick with the podcast We Are All Psychic, and today is a very special day. If you're watching, you will see Giovanni, and if you're not watching, you will hear Giovanni. Giovanni, would you like to say hello?
Hey, everybody. Thank you for having me, Lisa.
And I have to ask you, Giovanni, even though this is also Valentino if you're not watching, and you don't recognize his voice if you are listening. He's Giovanni Valentino. He can be whatever he wants. And today he's Giovanni forever. He has decided this. So do you still think we're all psychic?
Absolutely. I think we're all psychic, and I think that this great new series is an excellent segue into why using herbal medicine enhances our psychic abilities. If we have a strong mind and body, our psychic power is in turn more clear and stronger.
Oh, Valentino, you froze.
Uh-oh.
This podcast, I swear, but that was a beautiful explanation, so we're keeping it. I told you, listeners and watchers, in a post in Instagram that we would get this podcast done today unless we had technical difficulties, and you just saw it. I said we usually do, and you just saw it. I'm leaving it. It's proof. No, there's not a tornado watch. It has nothing to do with that in Nashville, Tennessee, but probably not really. Probably has to do with the psychic energy. So I think so. I decided it was, or maybe it is. We really don't know the truth, but
I agree.
Maybe find out someday. Anyway, listeners, yes, the series is really exciting, especially if you've heard me talk about it already. We discussed it a little bit, I think, in your last podcast about herbs. Giovanni's been studying herbal medicine, traditional Chinese herbal medicine, at the college level or at the master's level right now.
So it's at the college level. So it's a master's degree. It's in Western herbalism, but I also study TCM, the traditional Chinese medicines, as well as Ayurvedic medicines. And right now I'm studying on a compound to create a cream and a tincture from an Ayurvedic derived medicine that we can discuss later on for skin darkening and for, adding protection to the sun.
That's wonderful. So listeners and watchers, these are going to be video podcasts, if they work out, of course, on Spotify and YouTube. What we're going to do in this first episode of Giovanni's series is to talk about like the terminology that you may find when you're looking up herbs and what they mean. Because when I first started looking into herbs, I'd see things like, I knew what diuretic was, but I found out that word young. But I didn't know, I knew it analgesic, I don't know how to pronounce it. Analgesic. I knew that was a pain killing one. So we're going to talk about some of those terms. So if you go reading about herbs yourself, you'll know what those terms mean. And this first introduction podcast. So as we go through the series, we're going to talk about different herbs, and he's going to teach us all about them and what they do and how to use them and how not to use them and stuff. Lots of great stuff. And I'm going to add in some magical uses as well, because I do know some of those, the symbolism of these herbs. So we kind of add some metaphysics into this, if you like to do work with the herbs magically or something like that too. So Giovanni, where would you like to start with this?
So, I can just kind of give you a quick rundown of the different types of herbs, and we can kind of discuss what they entail. Okay. So as you had already mentioned, analgesic is pain relieving. Turmeric is a great component. Same thing with California poppy. They help to kind of alleviate pain, increase blood flow, and stimulate the healing effect. We have antiseptic, which is good for different types of infections or to inhibit the growth of microorganisms on the skin. Okay. Anti-inflammatory, which reduces inflammation. There's really no need to.
Everybody knows that one.
Yeah. Come on. Aspirin, willow bark.
Yeah, I did know that one.
Is what they make aspirin from, right? There's an adaptogen, which that helps the body to kind of combat stress and adrenal function, proper adrenals.
Okay.
So this is an interesting one too that I actually, have been learning about, because I don't know much about the female reproductive system. So a emmenagogue, which stimulates menstruation for blood flow to the pelvic area, and it helps to regulate the female menstruation.
I had seen that word and I never knew what that one was. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, it's a big one, and it's one of those, we have nervine herbs. They can help to calm or stimulate our nervous system. This is also a big dive that I've been going into to understand better, how the body functions, healing pain, nerve pains. We have carminative, which is a digestive aid. It helps to relieve gas, and who doesn't have that every now and
I need that. Everybody needs to know it too. Fortunately, they do.
It's also good for bloating.
I'm just kidding.
And then let's see, we have astringent herbs. Okay, so they kind of help to reduce secretions, tighten up the tissues. That stops things like diarrhea, bleeding, excessive discharges. Witch hazel is a really great astringent herb. I know a lot of people are familiar with witch hazel.
I have used it before. Yeah.
Yeah, in general, people
like
use
for astringent or other things. Yeah, it helps.
You can actually mix some witch hazel with calendula.
There we go, listeners. Calendula, I think he said. Oh, those technical difficulties. He's coming back, I promise, listeners, and I'll cut it right here until he's back. Okay, we're back. We found him in the ether. Here you go.
All right. Yeah. So due to technical difficulties, we're back in line. So we left off with carminative herbs, which are for relieving gas, bloating, and digestion. We went down over to astringent herbs, which tighten and reduce secretion. That's really good, like witch hazel. You could use that as a facial astringent. There's diaphoretic herbs, which promote sweating, and they help with fevers and detoxification. Elderberry is a really great one. We see that very commonly with, juices. And I personally love drinking elderberry juice. It's not medicinal, but, it still has some of the product.
Tastes good.
Yeah. Hepatic, which supports liver function, detoxifying and nourishing, strengthening our livers, which are very important for overall function. Expectorants, this is something I use often in the winter. They clean and clear mucus from the lungs.
Yes.
So when we have all that extra phlegm, we're coughing, we can't take it. It breaks that up and helps to expel that. Mullein and licorice root are really, really great. And don't confuse licorice root with the candy licorice, because candy licorice.
Yeah, like licorice root is not like that sweet. It's like a sweetener, kind of what I think of it as when I've had it in drinks, teas, in tea.
If I remember correctly, they use anise as opposed to actual licorice root now in candy licorice for the flavor.
Really?
Which is interesting. Why not just use licorice? So we have vulnerary, which promotes wound healing. That's kind of great for speeding up with tissue repair. Calendula is an excellent herb for that as well. It can be used as an astringent on a daily routine with your moisturizer. We have immunomodulator, which regulates the immune system.
Let me try immunomodulator. I said it twice. I had to try twice. Yeah.
It's funny, you read them so often and you don't actually say them out loud.
That's a hard one, though. That's like weird. But
they help to balance out our immune function. So really echinacea is an excellent example.
I love echinacea.
Well, right?
It's good tea, too. I mean, it just tastes like broth. And it's like really thick.
Yeah.
Good. Mm-hmm.
I have a great powder for echinacea. I was following a naturalist, a naturopath, who told me to snuff a tiny bit of echinacea up the nose to stop with histamines and snoring. So this practitioner, which I won't mention the name because she is very famous, gave this great advice out to people, right? So I tried it and it made the snoring worse. So it's really important that when you're getting this information, you're doing the research, right? Yes. You're learning what each type of herb is, the common practice used for these herbs, and not just saying, oh, I saw this great influencer on Instagram and said, oh, he or she said, do this. Well, guess what? Before I started studying officially in college in a medical school, an officially regulated school where we have procedures and practices, that have been tested and tried and peer reviewed, I took the advice, like most people do, of a popular source. You never want to go to popular sources for this information. So, and what is a popular source? You read a magazine and you see there's a whole article written about some type of an herb, right? And it touches on it lightly because, that's all it is a popular source.
They can't get into organic chemistry, and biology and microbiology in a Vogue article. Yeah.
And so to all that, you don't even have the resources attached to these popular sources to go into where this article was derived from. So it's important to know that too, right? And, you know, two herbs that I find to be fascinating are hawthorn berry and St. John's wort. Do you know anything about them, Lisa?
I know that with St. John's wort, listeners, if you're watchers, if you saw Giovanni last time, I think we did talk about your tinctures that you make with St. John's wort. What I know about St. John's wort, on a metaphysical way, it's pretty much just like the antidepressant, but it can raise the energy, your vibes, and it can also it helps with let me think. It can bring your energy amplified, or it can also clear out any like if you put it in an oil, it can clear out any negativity in your aura. Another thing I think it's also used for is protection and getting courage. And the other things for hawthorn berry, if I remember about that correctly, that was another courage one, another one for like, you know, and it's also, I've had hawthorn berries and I have used them in oils.
Yeah.
And they're like little hard berries. They're dried. The ones I had were dried. And they're a little tiny. You have some? I don't think I have any.
Oh, yeah. I don't have any hawthorn berry on me at the moment, but I do have some examples of my tincture jars.
Yeah, show your tincture jars. That's a tincture bottle, guys. Is that the St. John's wort or is that a hawthorn berry one?
St. John's wort. Just take a little bit.
Yeah, under your tongue. Under your tongue? Do you let it sit there under your tongue?
You can. And that actually helps to absorb faster into the bloodstream. I drink it usually.
Okay.
It's a harsh taste with the alcohol. You can also make them into vinegars. So for me, I know nothing about the spiritual components of hawthorn berry. But I do know that hawthorn berry is one of the best herbs, and it should be promoted more than fluoride in our water, right? So if we would hawthorn berry-ride the water as opposed to fluorinate the water, we'd all be
hawthorn berry-eyed. What would it do for us if we did?
So it's excellent for cardiovascular health.
Yes.
It regulates blood pressure. It has high antioxidants. It also assists with cholesterol management. A lot of people have those LDLs creeping up. And so this helps to reduce the LDLs and it promotes the HDLs. I don't like to call them good and bad cholesterol because all cholesterol is good, even the quote unquote bad cholesterol. We need both to harmonize as well as the triglyceride, right? It's a digestive aid. So it supports enzyme secretion and it alleviates the digestive issues that we have when we don't have the proper enzymes. And as well, it does go great with St. John's wort. Why? It has anti-anxiety and stress relief.
So that's great. So as you're elevating your mood, maybe you won't get nervous and anxious. And so, that's great.
It reduces nervousness, tension, and stress. So, which is also a function of St. John's wort. One study I did read in one of the monographs of the hawthorn berry was that hawthorn berry compared to cardiovascular drugs for folks who have different types of, just issues with their blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, damage to the to the heart. It was compared with a year. Okay. And at the end of the year study, the control groups, the people who were on the hawthorn berry tinctures actually surpassed the function of the medicine for the folks who are on the medicine, because the medicines are just one piece, one constituent pulled out of the herb, whereas the herb is a full picture, right?
That's really cool, yeah.
And what do we believe in spirituality? Holisticity and the fullness of everything, completion, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So to talk a little more about St. John's wort, it's a mood support and anti-depression support herb, right? It increases our serotonin and dopamine. And it makes just us have a little bit more of that flowing. It helps to produce more to keep us happier. The stress relief, it has this amazing effect on our central nervous system where it calms the nerves. Okay. So that's excellent just to reduce anxiety and stress. And topically, you can use it to heal wounds.
Now, you did tell me that last time, and I did not know that about it. That's amazing. Yeah. So like your tincture, could you use your tincture? It has alcohol base? It's an ethanol-based alcohol, like Everclear?
It's an Everclear.
Like our sponsor, Everclear. We'll talk about that later, though. That's great.
And then lastly, it's antiviral and anti-inflammatory. One more thing, PMS support. So for the ladies who are having issues with their menstrual cycle, menopause, and PMS, this is a great herb to support that because
Emogog, is that right? Emogog, or am I saying that right?
This is a nervine tonic.
Nervine. It's all nervine. Okay, this is nervine.
But it does have a menagog property as well.
Okay, yes. There we go. So all the properties of St. John's wort that have those herbal property names. What are they? What all does St. John's wort do in the big fancy names you just taught us that I can never remember? Part of the reason I'm asking you to teach us about those is so I can remember them.
So the nervine tonic, I mean, it's excellent for the nerve alleviation, right? So we alleviate nerve pain.
And for the skin, what would that be called? What would that be like
just a topical salve. You would make a topical salve or an astringent out of it.
Astringent, that's what I was looking for, yeah.
So the astringent's lighter. The salve will kind of like place on for a long-term effect. And so that's also where you can get its anti-inflammatory effects as well.
Okay, so listeners and watchers, with all these herbs, like what Giovanni is doing with them is creating products that we can use as people instead of just drinking the teas or eating the leaves or whatever. Like you made this tincture. It takes a long time to make an alcohol tincture and stuff like that. So I make VG tinctures sometimes, vegetable glycerin tinctures. I make a lion's mane one and some others usually for people who drink, who can't take alcoholic tinctures. I'll make VG tinctures. So some people can't tolerate any kind of the sugars in alcohol, for example, like diabetic people, sometimes they can't, but they can take like oil. So another way you can make a tincture from what I've done is a very low setting of olive oil in a pot, then you put your herb in and let it soak, but very low. I mean, so low, nothing. It's a long time, probably about 3 hours, 4 hours is what I was taught, but you can do longer if you want, and then strain it and it won't have that burnt taste, but it will have, that's a way you can do it for people who cannot take alcohol or vegetable glycerin for sugar reasons, for example. It's like stuff I've learned how to do. I used to make CBD. I would buy CBD at the store and I would make different kinds with it and then sell it at my friend Kakasha's shop. And she couldn't tolerate ethanol or the vegetable glycerin type of alcohol. So that's how I learned how to do that stuff because I had to for her. So I learned how to make it with an oil, So yeah,
absolutely. And so you brought up good points. A lot of people can't tolerate alcohol-based tinctures. So how else can you take the herbs? Like you said, you could actually create an oil, and that oil could be used in cooking, and you could just apply a couple tablespoons to your food.
Yes, she did that a lot. My friend Akasha did that a lot.
Now, alcohol is the best extraction method when you macerate an herb. However, maceration for everyone is when you put chopped bits of dried herb or fresh herb into a base, a liquid base, a menstruum, and that menstruum of alcohol, a menstruum of vinegar, a menstruum of vegetable glycerin. You can do all those different things. Now, what you're talking about, you're actually infusing the oil.
Yes.
So CBD, it takes cannabis takes a much longer time to infuse into an oil or a butter.
Yes, it does.
But you can do maybe 20 minutes, and that should be enough with most of the oils.
Okay. That's what CBD took so long then. Okay.
Yeah. But but you can still do a long infusion. That just makes it a little more potent.
Yeah. That's cool. That's really great, man.
Yeah. So
what are the properties of hawthorn berry as far as the words we have learned in this?
Well, properties of hawthorn berry. I mean, hawthorn berry can be used in a plethora of different ways. It's mainly ingested. So we would make a tincture. We could make an oil. We could just put hawthorn berry on our food. Now, one thing as well, we can make capsulate the herbs, and we can make pills. So a lot of folks will see, Amazon sells hawthorn berry in a pill. Why can't I take it in a pill? Guess what? You can. So we can make those pills, powder the herb up, and make small pill form for them as well. So mainly I use hawthorn berry as something you would ingest, in a tincture, in a capsule. You can also, now, here's a great thing too. A lot of people don't really tolerate the herbs good in their stomachs. So you can make a bolus, which is, it's inserted rectally or vaginally. And it goes in, you go to sleep, and then it, dissolves within you and it absorbs your system, and that bypasses the stomach.
That's really interesting.
St. John's wort is excellent for hemorrhoids, inflammation in the intestines, intestinal inflammation. It's great for.
You say it was good for brain inflammation. Didn't you say that the last time we were doing a podcast?
Yeah.
St. John's Wort.
Our brains are full of nerves.
Yeah.
And it's a nervine. So it goes right up into the brain, and it helps to.
Yes, it's perfect.
It helps to de-inflame the brain. That's also a big reason why it's antidepressant. A lot of depression is caused from inflammation throughout the body. Inflammatory conditions in the body are rampant right now.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's beautiful information, and I'm like really excited about I do want to try it. As listeners and watchers, I'm going to do a little of my own research with my medications that I take to make sure it doesn't mix with it. And I'm going to try your St. John's. I definitely want to try it topically because I mean, as you probably know from my Ehlers-Danlos list, you can see the bruises. I don't know. I usually use apricot oil to get the bruising to go down faster. And I am out, but I had made a lotion base with it. I usually do it with coconut oil and wasn't paying attention to what I was doing and dumped all the apricot seed oil in it. And but that one helps with the bruises fading. But the topical part of the St. John's, I'm very interested in because I my skin's very fragile too. I cut myself a lot too, stuff like that. So the astringent effect, I'm very curious about, with that one.
So one thing I would recommend is arnica. Arnica. I
love arnica. Yes.
So I'm currently making lotions, right? But I'm just kind of infusing them with essential oils. What I'm going to start doing is I'm going to infuse the cocoa butter with the different herbs, like we were discussing before, as instead of olive oil, or I could take, there's sweet almond oil we use a lot in our bases for my creams that I make. So I could infuse that with the arnica, right?
Yeah.
And then in turn, make the lotions with that infused almond oil. That's excellent. And that would be no different than better than getting the arnica cream from CVS, right?
Right. It will be. Yeah. And, I have some arnica actually that I just got about 4 months ago, and I'm going to do that. I didn't even think of that. And I'm going to I don't think I'll do it. I think I'll make an oil base and then put it into a lotion like you just talked about. I'll try doing that and I'll let you know how it goes. You can give me some tips.
Definitely. Pull me up and we'll do it together on the phone.
Okay. Yeah, so, hey, we should do a whole podcast like that sometime. One of these podcasts, we'll do a demonstration. Definitely.
Yeah. That's definitely one of the goals we want to achieve, to help people to empower themselves to take charge of their own health. Right.
Absolutely.
So we can definitely schedule a podcast on creating that oil and creating that oil into a cream or a lotion that can be applied top.
Fun. That would be so fun. We can both do it in our kitchens, set up. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Or you have to, you guys can come to Nashville. You might have to. Yeah. Be a good time. All in one frame. Wow. That'd be crazy.
Right.
So, weekend. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we're doing this, and you've given me a lot of information that I couldn't retain before, and I'm retaining it now. I think I am. And plus, I'm going to listen to this when I mix it, and then listen to it after, and again. So, but I really want the listeners to know where they can find you. Now, Giovanni's been on the show a few times, and you might know him as Valentino. Like we said, like you've heard in my first podcast, I go by many names, or have gone by many names. You have too. So, where can they find you?
Seersensitives.us. SEERSENSITIVES.us.
And are you on?
Call at 856-497-4050.
And you're on Instagram too, right?
Yes, Seer Sensitives on Instagram.
Okay, cool. So you can check them out. And also, I want to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app and website where you can get advice from psychics and empaths so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And I am an advisor on Everclear. But my name is Lisa P right now, but it's turning into Lisa Russick over the next month by magic. Magic. Everclear is magic. And your Everclear is magic too, Giovanni.
That is right.
The ones you make your tinctures out of. And thank you so much again. And do you have any advice to anyone who's thinking, man, I really want to learn about this stuff. I want to go to school, but what can I do with it? And really, what would you tell them they can do with it afterwards?
Well, you can do anything with it. It's about how far you want to go with it and how far you can go with it. Some people don't have the ability to go with it, but I would say consult your doctor first, make a plan with your doctor, and make sure you and your doctor know what you're going through when you're doing it. That way
if you take them and stuff. Yeah, if you take them, definitely. Yeah.
You never know what your interactions are. We're not doctors. Herbalists are just people who know how to use the herbs for different health matters. Speak with a doctor, make a plan, and get yourself on the path. Start researching, right?
Yes,
and
research.
Always go to the scientific peer-reviewed journal research, medical research. Never use a popular source.
I agree with you. And if you find it in a popular source, go research it. This is what you said like 4 times. And I agree with you utterly and completely. Research it with like a bunch of people, places. Yeah, but when you said what you said, that's definitely a peer-reviewed medical journal or scientific or medical study. Yeah, I'm actually doing a study on tremor. They're coming to my house in a couple of days to come check out my tremor, and I'm going to be doing a. I'm pretty much sure. I'm not positive I'm doing it until they come to my house and physically evaluate me. But I'll be doing a what do you call it? A medical study. I always forget what they're called. It's for a medicine.
It's a medical study.
Medical study. Yes,
you'll be participating in a medical study.
It's the God. There's a term for it though. Anyway, but I'm going to be trying it for my tremor, and they say that after the study, clinical trial. After the clinical trial, they will let us stay on it for a year if we want to, even if we did get the placebo. So I think that's really cool. And this has been a problem all my life. So I'm really excited. My cards say good things about it, listeners and watchers. So maybe when you see me on Instagram, my camera won't be going when I talk to you, or I'll put it down from now on. So listeners and watchers, we love you. Do you love the listeners? Giovanni, do you love the listeners and watchers?
Absolutely. Definitely.
Good. All right. I love you too, listeners and watchers. Y'all have a great day. Peace out. Bye.
Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Thank you.